And so I think in 2020 was our first time running a Minecraft event. And I think it kind of showed the Minecraft world like, hey, we can do more than just online events.
I think it's the question that everybody's wondering, and it's only if you can answer it, of course. Who reached out to who? Because there was a little thing going around of like who made the teams. A lot of people were wondering, was it Nox Crew? Was it Twitch Rivals? Was it Smage? Was it a collab? But you essentially answered there was who made the teams this time around.
And then his dodgeball as well, where the first round he takes down everyone, including doing a 1v3.
It kind of shows, in a LAN event when he's got perfect Wi-Fi, the same Wi-Fi or the same ping as everybody else, he comes full Findiv as a normal EU player. Okay, I want to put that out there. I want to put that out there for everyone. Okay, that CPK is an S tier, and I feel like you very much proved that.
From my perspective, as someone who's part of Twitch Rivals and as a fan, seems like a no-brainer to me. An EU MCC event just makes a ton of sense to me. So Nox Crew and Twitch Rivals collectively have proven that there's absolutely a hunger from the community for more MCC live IRL type events. So
I thought it was cool that after so long trying to win an MCC coin, Captain Sparkles wins a crown straight away.
Yeah, so we had that event right after, and it lasted for 3 hours or so, and there were just hundreds of people there to meet and get signatures from all the different folks.
Alright lads, welcome back to Midweek MC, the part of the podcast where I sit down with the amazing co-host, Captain AJX, who's actually here this week. Can you believe it?
I'm back!
AJX, oh my god. How are you, AJX?
I'm good, thank you. I had a lovely time at Disney, so...
That's good. You've now missed 2 out of 8 weeks. This is outrageous.
Oh my god. Oh, you're going to fire me on the spot.
I'm going to have to. However, that doesn't matter, alright? Because you've come back for the perfect week. We have a very, very good podcast this week. A very fun topic. What is it, AJ? So what are we going to be talking about this week?
Oh, we are talking about Twitch Rivals MCC. I'm so excited.
And it's even more exciting because it's not just us. We have someone who's very cool on the podcast. Somebody who's actually the community program manager for Twitch Rivals. What's their name, AJX?
CloudFuel!
Hey folks, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Welcome on in.
How are you today?
I'm doing well. Having a little bit of the post TwitchCon blues, missing all the creators and everything, but yeah, otherwise doing good.
Missing all the creators despite not going.
Yeah, it was such a fun time. I mean, I unfortunately couldn't make it out, but watching all the events, obviously ours for Twitch Rivals, but just all the stuff happening on TwitchCon, watching, Twitter, seeing all the tweets from the different folks taking pictures. It was just really cool. It's such a special time to see everybody in these communities come together, meeting people for the first time or seeing friends that they haven't seen in a long time, and it's just I don't know, there's something really cool about that. So definitely always exciting.
It felt like a different level this year as well. It was
certainly. If you got a chance to see that keynote, our CEO Dan Clancy dropped some pretty big information that people seemed really excited about. So, as a longtime fan of Twitch, it's really cool to see the community sentiment changing in a more positive manner. So always happy for that.
It seems to be taking a big step in the right direction as of the last recent months, right?
I certainly think so. I think I think Dan's done a really good job of, kind of getting out there and being a part of the community. I mean, he streams himself, which, I have a ton of respect for. Truly understands the product. He understands the communities and the creators and the viewers and what they're looking for, what they need. And I think, him and the team, everybody, are making decisions that are really beneficial to the creators, which at the end of the day, that's what this is all about for, right?
Exactly. I had the chance to, so I watch a bit of Twitch Rivals every now and then. It's something that, because I spend a lot of time editing the podcast, right? Upload into a week. It's kind of my hobby. I can say hobby because I work in quotation marks with a job. But I had the chance to lurk during the Apex Legends Twitch Rivals. It sounds like a silly question, all right, but I'm going to ask it just to make sure. You have an impact on every single Twitch Rivals, right?
Most of them. So my role as a community program manager essentially is I'm kind of the voice for Twitch to the community, which is the creators and the viewers, and then I'm the voice back to Twitch from the community. So I'm kind of that liaison between the two. So I'm constantly trying to keep up with what's happening in the space. and understanding what makes sense for the community, like how Twitch can best serve these communities. And so yeah, I'm involved with a lot of the events. I do have a counterpart, my colleague Taylor, who's also a community manager. So we kind of split the load because we have a lot of different events. I think this year we had something like 100 different events. So yeah, I typically handle more of like the Minecrafts and like the FPS VR kind of games, and then he handles more of like the variety stuff. So like Uno, Party Animals, things of that nature. But yeah, we're both pretty involved with a lot of events, and like I said, it kind of ranges all across the different communities across Twitch. So yeah, the 4 events that we had this weekend, I was involved with all of them, and they were all awesome in their own unique way.
Even though we've already kind of covered who you are and what you do, would you like to give us a little bit of a rundown, I guess, from yourself of who you are and what you do?
Sure. So yeah, my name is CloudFuel. That's what I'm known as in the gamer space. My real name is Blake, and I'm a community program manager for Twitch Rivals. So Twitch Rivals is a series that's produced by Twitch that is built for the communities. So these are the creators and the viewers that make up all of Twitch. And so we run events across a wide variety of different games, spanning from Minecraft to Apex Legends to Party Animals and everything in between. And my role as a community program manager is essentially to kind of be the voice for Twitch Rivals and Twitch to the community, and then also from the community, which is again the creators and the viewers, back to Twitch. So I'm trying to better understand what it is that the community needs and how Twitch Rivals can fit into that. The last thing we ever want to do is step in and overlap what already exists, which we could talk a little bit more about, that and sort of how this MCC event came to be. But just kind of thinking of that nature of like, we don't want to overlap. We want to be additive to the community. We're always thinking of those things, like how can we best serve the community, essentially.
Yeah, I mean that's the perfect introduction, right?
Definitely. I love Twitch Rivals and all they've done, and I just think it's such a big event for Twitch whenever there's a Twitch Rivals. Especially, obviously, I mainly focus on Minecraft, but I'm always so ready to see different games being played and so on. And it's interesting that there's 2 of you working on it, and the fact there's like a competitive side and then the more sort of less competitive games. That being said, I've played Uno; it's very competitive. So yeah,
it really depends on the community. Like the way we sort of design our events is we sort of think about who are we trying to target, right? So we could take something like an Apex Legends, which is traditionally very competitive, but we could turn it on its head and we could go and sort of invite creators who are not as competitive with the game and make it more fun. We could add silly bounties in where it's like you have to hit a 360 no scope, or you've got to like jump 5 times before you shoot. We could add silly stuff in there. We do that from time to time, but we try to think about what would make the most sense for the community and what they would, what the creators and the viewers would respond to the most. So when you look at something like Minecraft, I mean, we've run a lot of Minecraft events over the past 3 years. Yeah, so I started playing Minecraft in 2014, and the first 2 years that Twitch Rivals existed, we didn't run any Minecraft events, and so for me, it was always something I wanted to bring into the fold. And so I think in 2020 was our first time running a Minecraft event, and it was a vanilla event. So this was something that myself and a couple of my colleagues came up with, and we did. It was like an advancement bingo, is what we called it, which essentially was like fully vanilla. It was based off the advancement system that already exists within the game, and we just wanted to do something that was very sort of downscaled that we could run ourselves, because we knew we didn't have the knowledge or the prowess to be able to like build these massive worlds or design and program and code things out the way some of the other events that we were seeing. And I think this was around the same time that Dream SMP was coming up and MCC was coming up. So we saw those things as like, whoa, those are really cool. We can't do that. Let's do very vanilla stuff and just kind of see what we can do. And that was great. We did the advancement bingo a few times. People had a good time. I think we even had like some of the Dream SMP folks a part of it. Some people that would eventually go on to be a part of MCC were a part of it. And it was really cool. And then as time went on, we started to expand upon that and sort of increase the scope of which we were kind of leaning into the Minecraft customness. And over the years, we worked with a lot of different studios. So it's been pretty amazing for me as just a fan of Minecraft in this community. I think initially we were working with SLG, also known as Super League Gaming. We did a lot of like the Minecraft mini games events. Some were better than others. We learned a lot along the way, but we had some really cool and great experiences across that time. And then we worked with EVNT, which if you know, like Pika Clicks and his team, they were behind that. So we did a lot of really cool stuff with like Mindraft and MCL. And stuff like that. And then we also worked with Tubnet, which was amazing. I've been a huge fan of Tubbo really ever since I kind of discovered him on SMP. Just a big fan of kind of how he operates and him as a creator. So getting to work with him and his team was pretty incredible. And I think that actually is in a way kind of what set up our ability to work with MCC, which we could kind of dive into that whenever I guess you guys are ready. But yeah, I mean that event last year in Amsterdam with Tubnet, we did the Craftmaster Live event. That was pretty incredible. That was like our first, I think, big Minecraft Live type event that happened in a live space. And I think it kind of showed the Minecraft world like, hey, you know, we can do more than just online events. So it's been really cool for me as a fan to see this progression, this journey. You know, we didn't always get it right at first. We had to learn a lot of things along the way. But I think we've gotten to a really good place over the past year and a half, and we've really hit our stride.
Oh, I was going to say, I was at the Net event in Amsterdam, and it was so cool and such like a big deal. And yeah, there was like the first Minecraft live experience, you know, tournament experience I've ever, and the only one I've ever been to. But it was such a great event, and I'm sure helped when planning for this one and so on.
Are you there live, AJX?
Yes, yeah, for that event I was.
Oh, jeez, that's so cool. I didn't know that about you. I'm learning stuff about my co-host. Look at this, eh? I guess with all that being said, then I guess like just a few little questions before we do move into MCC, because you're doing a really good job at like possibly transitioning into it, but then I still have more questions about you as a person. So how long have you been working with Twitch Rivals for?
I started at Twitch in 2016, and I was working on the Rocket League Championship Series, the RLCS, if you will. And back then, things were a bit different. We were known as like the Twitch esports team, and everything was very esports focused. We had different groups that would work on the different sort of like communities, and it was all kind of like broken apart and separated, each kind of doing their own thing. And in 2019, we all kind of came together with this unified vision of Twitch Rivals, where we were sort of bringing content creators and pro players and everybody in between. We're kind of bringing them all together to create an event series that wasn't quite esports, but also wasn't. I don't know. It was sort of this interesting sort of gray area, and it was new and fresh at the time. So we started that in 2019, and we've been doing it now for I guess 5 years, right? Or 4 years, I can't math. So it's been pretty cool to see like the progression over time. And like I mentioned, you know, we didn't do any like Minecraft initially. That came on later. Our initial sort of events were, you know, League of Legends, and I think Apex Legends was another big one that happened early on. So, you know, we were kind of focusing more on like the FPS and VR communities, and then as time went on, we started adding more and more into our repertoire. But yeah, I've been with Twitch now for I guess 7 years. It doesn't feel like it's been that long, but then at the same time, it feels like it's been forever.
I know that exact feeling.
But then you're also the community program manager. So like, I guess perfect transition into talking about MCC Live X Twitch Rivals. What exactly was, as a community program manager, what was your role in this collab?
Yeah, so for this one, it was a bit different than my typical role for other events, because you know MCC, I mean that's Nox Crew and S Majors, that's their baby. So with that one, it's like, you know, in the other events we have to kind of take the lead on a lot of things. For this, we were able to just kind of like find our own lane to sort of like support them and take what they already do, which is so great, and help them bring it to a live setting. So for me, there wasn't as much work as there would have been in like previous events, where I would, you know, be the one that sort of goes out and invites people and explains how the event's going to work and all that sort of stuff. I kind of act as like a recruiter in a way for a lot of events. But for this one, it's like, hey, yo, it's MCC. Like, there's not much you have to say. People know. People are kind of beating down the door trying to be a part of it. So, no, I got to work with Scott, S Major, to kind of build out the list of creators. And, you know, there's always more creators than there are spaces. So it's always difficult to try to, you know, figure out who's going to be a part of the event. And then he worked on the teams. So, like, I didn't really have to do anything with that. And he did a great job of building out the team roster. And And yeah, I mean, I was just kind of like involved in a way to sort of, again, be that voice of the community back to Twitch. So, I mean, there were times where I guess, I was able to sit in on meetings and sort of explain to the team, like, hey, this is kind of how MCC does things. And I was able to provide, examples of previous events and things of that nature. But to be honest, I felt like more of just kind of a fanboy for this event because it honestly felt so smooth. Like from the very first time that we spoke to those guys, Nox Crew, like they were just so professional. They knew they had a vision for how they wanted this thing to go, and it was more just like, how can we as Twitch rivals bring that to life? How can we best support you to take what you already do, which is again so amazing, and bring it to a live setting? So it was it doesn't always go that well. I was very, very impressed with just like how smoothly that partnership went.
When was like the timeline of all this? So when did it like start, when you get in a conversation with them, to now where the event's been, and it was such an amazing event, definitely helped by the incredible scoring that made it so close going into the final. When does that all begin?
Yeah, so I mean, I really think the stage was kind of set last year with our event with Tubnet doing Craftmaster Live, because again, we had a lot of folks that typically are part of MCC that were part of that event. They all had a great experience, so I'm sure the word kind of got out, and I think in a way we sort of showcased what Minecraft could be in a live setting, and then we followed it up later that year working with PikaClix's team EVNT to bring MCL, which was sort of like a MOBA in Minecraft, and that was great as well. So we did that at San Diego, TwitchCon San Diego. So I think that really kind of set the stage of like, hey, you can have Minecraft events in a live space, and they can run really well, and people can have a great time. And so I think, yeah, it was probably, I don't remember the exact date, but I want to say it was probably like April of this year, I think, is when we were first kind of chatting with the folks at Nox Crew about building this thing out. I mean, we've known of them, we've talked to them before. This is not the first time, but I think it was really just to find, again, with Twitch Rivals, the whole thing is we want to make sure that we're being additive. We want to add to the space in a way that doesn't take away from what's already being done or overstep. And so I think this was the first opportunity where it's like, hey, we can do something here that's different. You already do something really great with your online product. Let's bring it to an IRL setting and bring something to the fans in a way that hasn't been done before. So yeah, I want to say it was like probably April we first started talking, and these things take time. There's a lot of IRL stuff that has to get figured out, the setups for the PCs, like what the visuals are going to look like, all the graphics, all that sort of stuff, which is way outside of my knowledge base. We've got a whole team that handles that stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think it was one of the easiest partnerships we've ever had. They were consummate professionals. They knew exactly what they wanted, and we were able to make a lot of that stuff come true. So awesome.
I think it's the question that everybody's wondering, and it's only if you can answer, of course. Who reached out to who?
I mean, again, I think we had been in contact with each other before for various projects, so I'm sure it was probably a combination of the two. I think we've reached out to them before, and they've reached out to us, so I'm not really sure, because again, I typically don't get involved in the very beginning of things. I kind of get brought in as we're sort of in that design brainstorm phase. So it could have been, some of our business development or sales folks talking to some of their folks. It's hard to say, but I imagine, from my perspective, when I got brought in, it was very much a sort of kismet, like everybody wanted to work together kind of space. So yeah,
it's kind of just them ones where like it's kind of just that mutual agreement of it's going to happen at one point, but like when it happens, and then I guess it's now this is when it happened.
Yeah, exactly.
You also answered a theory without even realizing. So I can't remember where it's from per se, and this is why I absolutely love the podcast, because there was a little thing going around of like who made the teams. A lot of people were wondering, was it Nox Crew, was it Twitch Rivals, was it Smager, was it a collab? But you essentially answered that it was Smager who made the teams this time around. So
yeah, I mean, we work together. So there's a lot of people at Twitch Rivals, but my colleague Kelsey, she's one of the so we have online events and live events, and for live events she's one of the head coordinators for those. And so I worked with her and with Scott to come up with like a creator list of people we'd want to invite. And of course, it's always the list is always much longer than spots available. So you kind of start going through and inviting people, and as people say yes or no for various reasons, you make adjustments. From a Twitch Rivals perspective, and this is, I can't speak on behalf of Nox Crew because they may have different approaches, but from a Twitch Rivals perspective, we're always trying to think of a lot of different things. We want to make sure that, we have diversity across all of our picks. We want to make sure that we're representing the Twitch community as best as we can. And specifically within the Minecraft space, we're trying to get the folks that, range from folks who've been a part of DSMP or folks that have been on Hermitcraft, as well as like the speedrunners. Like we're trying to get the whole sort of everybody, or as many different groups as possible involved. And so that was a collaborative effort to come up with that creator list. And then Scott has, as far as I know, he's always done the teams. So that to me was kind of a no-brainer. It's like, all right, here's the list. You make the teams. You've done this so many times, and you're so great at it. So it did make sense for us to kind of step in and try to tell him how to do what he already does so well. So yeah, he did a great job.
I mean, I guess it's a little bit like the podcast. Sorry, AJX. I know. I just wanted to quickly say this. It's like it's a bit like the podcast. For example, like I'm trying to branch out with InsideMC, it's specifically guests, in quotation marks, interviews. I don't like calling it interviews. I feel like interviews are very much, I ask you a question, you answer, I don't build on it, I ask my next question, right? So it's like, it's getting like guests on to talk. And I'm trying to reach out to different communities of like SMPs, hardcore, event. I mean, for instance, Midweek MC, you said you checked, like you saw a few of the podcasts. I have you on, we have you on this week. And then last week, I was joined with a co-host, Bendo, who is one of Twitch Rivals. And everyone I've had on like Bendo, Fulham, they've all had very good things to say about Twitch Rivals. So big props for that, I guess. And then the week before that was like an event inside a con inside Minecraft. And then like before that was MCSR. So like it's different communities, different kind of things. A bit like you, for instance, with Twitch Rivals, you're trying to branch into different communities of creators constantly. And I mean, I guess it's a lot easier with Twitch Rivals because not easier, but you get what I mean. Yeah, I hope I've kind of made sense there with the comparison.
Yeah, I mean, we sort of see it as like, there's the overall Minecraft community, which is a part of the bigger Twitch community. But when you sort of zoom in on the Minecraft community itself, there's a lot of different groups within there. And there's overlap between these groups. It's not like they're completely segregated, but, we want to try to make sure that there's representation across all these different groups. We try. That's one of the big things we like to do with Twitch Rivals is sort of cross-pollinate different creator groups. And we'll even go outside of, the typical, like we've had events in the past where it's like we wouldn't necessarily just invite Minecraft creators. We've invited Minecraft creators to Fortnite events. We've invited Fortnite creators or variety creators to Minecraft events. You look at Masayoshi, he was one of the people that we invited to this event. He doesn't typically do Minecraft. He's done some Minecraft, but he's more of a variety creator.
Yeah.
So we're always trying to bring in, it's less about the game that they play or they stream the most, and it's more about like the personality and the vibe. We spend a lot of time thinking about just trying to build good vibes because at the end of the day, we want creators and viewers to have a good time, right? And that's what it really comes down to. So we try to find people that are going to have, they're going to have the skill to be able to like play the event because we don't want anybody to do poorly or not have a good time. But we also want to make sure they have the right vibes and the right mindset for it. And so we've done Minecraft events in the past that have been very sweaty, very competitive. Infamously, Tfue won one of those. He's one of the most like winningest players that we've ever had in Twitch Rivals. But there are certain events where it makes sense for someone like him, and there are other events where it's a little bit too casual, maybe not the best event for him. So we're always thinking of those things. And so when trying to put together the very first MCC live event, it's like you have to think of all the MCCs that have come before, which is 34 or 35 plus. There have been so many people across all these different events, people that have won, people that have never won, people that are on like a 3-game losing streak, like all these different things. And it's like trying to get all these different groups represented in the event is again, it's tough because there's only 40 spots. So but that's we try to put a lot of thought into that when we're building out these crews. And again, we worked really closely with Scott to make sure that anybody that we would invite would make sense, because the last thing we want to do is invite somebody who like doesn't fit with the MCC crew or like wouldn't make sense with the creators that were there, or didn't have the experience that they wouldn't have a great time. Like there's a lot of prestige that goes in this event, so we want to make sure that we do right by the entire community.
That's fair. Yeah.
That's wonderful. I was going to say I loved the teams and obviously all the creators that bunched in, and I'm a huge like MCC nerd. So the fact that this event was so close, and the fact that we literally had 10 points between the two teams getting to the finale, that must have been just like so exciting to have happen in the first live event.
Yeah, that was pretty incredible. I was very surprised to see how close it came to the end. So fun fact, I actually had predicted the Yellow Yaks to win.
I was going to bring that up,
I tweeted it out because it was like an internal thing. So my colleague, Oliver, he's known as Major Giggles. He's our competition manager. So he and I were sort of like not betting, but we were sort of like, all right, I think this team's gonna win. I think this team's gonna win because we both watch a lot of MCC. And so initially, I think the Yellow Yaks were actually going to be the Cyan Coyotes, but then they got changed. I think just due to logistics of like where they were coming in on the stage, I think they ended up getting changed. But so essentially, yeah, the Yellow Yaks, I had predicted them because when I saw that team, I'm like, okay, Captain Sparkles, like the dude always is always a contender. Cub fan is somebody I've watched for years because I've been a big fan of Hermitcraft for like 5-6 years at this point. And I mean, Cub fan is just, I mean, he's incredible. And then Frost, like what more do I need to say? And awesome, dude. Like that whole team is just super stacked. And that's not to take away from any of the other teams, but like when I initially saw that team, I was like, there's no way this team loses. I think they're just incredible. So I predicted them to win, and they ended up winning, which was pretty exciting. But the way they got there was incredible. I mean, you mentioned it. They did really well in the first few games, and then the Captain Sparkles came on and did the interview saying that they had their best games out of the way, but they were kind of worried going into the rest of it. And they, I guess spoilers for anybody that hasn't seen, they kind of dipped down for a little bit, and that's when like the Purple Pandas and Red Rabbits kind of started taking the lead a bit, and that was pretty exciting. Seeing Purple was popping off quite a bit. CPK was popping off, Fruit Berries, Tubbo, like everybody was kind of popping off at different times, and it got really, really close there towards the end. And yeah, I really liked how, and I think this was the MCC team that decided this. The way they designed the multipliers for the coins going into the end, it like really ramped things up. So going into game 4, it's like, oh, the Yellow Yaks have this. It's like not even no question, right? But then by the end of game 4, it's like, well, wait a second, their lead's been cut in half. Maybe they're not gonna. And then game 5, it's like, oh no, Purple Pandas are now in the lead, and Red Rabbit's right behind them. So it was just constant jockeying back and forth. Was really, really cool to see. And then yeah, that last game coming down to 10 coins, I felt so bad. Like this is one of those times where I kind of wish that we had maybe more teams that could be a part of it, but just it kind of works out that way. But yeah, it was incredible, and to get us to Dodgeball. So for that to be our first live event, I mean, you couldn't write it any better than that.
Oh my god, I'm geeking out. I'm just thinking of back at the event basically now. I'm a huge Ant Frost supporter because he knows who I am basically. So therefore, I'm like, yes, Ant Frost. So the fact you mentioned the final battle, the final Sky Battle, the fact he got so many kills, I think it's the kill record in Sky Battle as well, to take yellow there. And then his dodgeball as well, where the first round he takes down everyone, including doing a 1v3.
The 1v3, I know, that was so good. That was so good.
It just builds the whole momentum for yellow.
And I think he ended up with the most individual coins as well, right? And by like a landslide, I want to say.
Yeah,
so, I mean, he just had an incredible performance.
Compared to
he had
2.7.
It's his first ever time doing that as well. So the fact it's on stage live in front of everyone.
There's something to be said about that. I mean, the fact that the crowd, and I know our interviewers kind of asked some folks about that, but like it's a much different feeling getting up there and playing in front of a crowd, because every time you do something, they're cheering, and there's that energy, and people really feed off of that sort of thing. So it's cool seeing that Ant Frost was able to really step up in that moment and do what he's able to do.
Yes, definitely. And also he just like constantly is training and so on as well. You actually brought up an interesting point, and I thought that CPK did so amazingly because he's had so much experience in the past doing live tournaments from back when he used to play Dota, I think, and then being in a lot of events since. So the different players would have different reactions to being live, and I always thought that was interesting, especially going into it. You saw a lot of other players not doing as well as they're used to doing, and the fact CPK popped off and almost beat Purple, who is probably the best player as well currently.
I was gonna say the fact that they were on the same team, like that was another team that I was like, oof, CPK and Purple together, that's a scary combo. But yeah, no, it was really cool to see them. Both Purple and CPK were popping off, and CPK is just, I don't know. I mean, how can you not love that guy? He's had a lot of, so he's been in a lot of our events, both Minecraft and then stuff outside of Minecraft as well. And he's always, one thing I really appreciate about CPK is like he's always very honest with us. He's given us a lot of feedback over the years of like the good and the bad, which has really helped us to make improvements. Because again, while we're fans of Minecraft, we don't have the knowledge to really know how to like build build a network infrastructure and to code things and all this stuff that goes into making these events what they are. So having folks like him and Hannah and Ann Frost and some others that have been a part of our events that have given us that feedback to help us get to a point to where I think someone like Nox Crew would feel confident enough to work with us to make this event happen is really cool. So it's definitely a testament to those folks that have kind of stuck with us over the years when maybe the events weren't as good as they could have been, but we put a lot of effort into it and they helped us to make them even better. So yeah, definitely shout out to those folks.
I just want to add to that like on the other hand of Ann Frost being AJX's goat, CPK is my goat. not in like a fanboy type beat. I just, like you said, that how can you hate it? I don't know what it is, alright? Just something about CPK. I just enjoy his streams, I enjoy that stuff, and like what was really nice to see was him coming forth. Just, I don't know, I'm not speaking on behalf of him, this is kind of my opinion, but ping diff, alright? It kind of shows, in a LAN event when he's got perfect Wi-Fi, the same Wi-Fi or the same ping as everybody else, he comes full fin diff as a normal EU player, okay? I want to put that out there. I want to put that out there for everyone, okay? That CPK is an S tier, and I feel like you very much proved that.
Well, now we have to have another event so we can confirm that, right?
I mean,
oh yes.
I mean, with you saying that, Cloud is, and it's, I'll let you ask the question, AJX, because this is your one, all right? You know what to do. Ask the question.
Well, we had a few people ask, on Twitter, is there plans, or would you like? I'm sure the answer to this would be yes. Would you like to do another event in the future, and if so, when?
So
if
okay,
you can, Nick. You can say it from either a Twitch
Yeah.
Rivals perspective or a fan perspective. This is your choice, because we don't want to get you in trouble,
No, I won't get in trouble. I'll speak honestly. So what I'll say is this, right? The event just happened. We haven't had a chance because like a lot of the folks are off this week. We put a lot of effort to make these events at TwitchCon happen. A lot of like 6 month plus planning. So the team, deservedly so, getting a bit of a break this week. So coming back next week, I'm sure we'll go through and we'll do like a retrospective on each of the events and just kind of, hey, how did the event go? And I'm sure we'll probably talk with Nox Crew at some point. So we'll see where that goes. I can't really speak on that until that happens. But from my perspective, as someone who's part of Twitch Rivals and as a fan, it seems like a no-brainer to me. An EU MCC event just makes a ton of sense to me. Fingers crossed. I'm certainly going to push for it from my perspective. I think it'd be amazing. I think there's some great creators over in EU that were not able to be a part of this. Paul Symmetry, for example. I think she would be fantastic at this, and she won Craftmaster last year for us. So
yeah.
And there's a bunch of other folks too. So to me, it makes a ton of sense to do this again, but ultimately it's going to be up to Nox Crew and the folks that make these kind of calls for Twitch Rivals. So as a fan, I'm hoping for it.
I mean, I can't see why they'd say no. It's one of those situations, speaking from me and from AJX, once again, won't speak on behalf of you, but you probably do agree. I can't see why they wouldn't. So I'm looking to travel the world a little bit next year. And when I say travel the world, I want to go to conventions. I'm off to Insomnia, hopefully, in wherever or not this happens. I want to go to both Insomnias next year, because in case it wasn't obvious already, I am British. I live in Britain. So there's that. Obviously, I want to go to, hopefully, maybe VidCon. I want to go to TwitchCon US. But one thing I'm definitely doing, because I went for the first time ever this year, and I want to go next year, is TwitchCon EU. All right? And there's speculation, wherever it happens or not, the TwitchCon is either going to be in Spain or England, which, well, I've just kind of, for a second there, I forgot, do you work with Twitch? So there isn't me trying to hint anything, so don't run to that. But I just for a second, I completely forgot that sounds like I'm trying to hint at something. But so there's speculation around that. Obviously, I have my speculation. Would love for it to be in England. But if it is in EU next year and there is an MCC live, best believe I will be there no matter what. Okay, because I'm watching it because I watched the Twitch Rivals stream. I didn't watch a specific stream. I watched the Twitch Rivals one because Kara Corvus, Corey Way, Fulham got his little time to shine as well. Like, just the commentators was such a good choice in my opinion, and the whole thing with Fulham beforehand, like, he's alongside CBK. Fulham's also my goat, which is quite funny because they're like quite good friends as far as I'm aware anyways. And it's like, if there was one in EU, who knows, maybe Fulham could commentate it and all that kind of stuff. So yeah,
absolutely.
On a bit of a tangent there, sorry.
No, I'm really glad you mentioned the commentators, because I thought they did a fantastic job. We've worked with Kara on numerous occasions. We've had a bunch of Minecraft events outside of MCC that we've done, and she's been a part of those, both as a player and as a commentator, and she's always been fantastic. So it was great being able to have her back. Wavepunk is like he is the Twitch Rivals host. We've had him for years. He and I go way back because he's part of the Rocket League community. So I've known him since like 2015, 2016. So
Jeez, okay.
It's pretty incredible. It's incredible to see like where he's kind of like his career trajectory. So it was great having him, and then Curryway was fantastic. Like I don't know what I expected, because I mean Curryway is always just, every event we've had him in, it's like, all right, he's already an odds-on favorite to win. He's just so good and so analytical, and it makes sense when he comes on as a commentator. It's like that brain just is perfect for it. So he was able to add a lot. Like he was able to add that color to Kara's commentary that just fit perfectly. And then Fulham was one that like I don't know all the inner workings, because I don't typically I'm not typically involved with like talent selection, but I know that he was somebody that was going to be potentially on as talent, and then I guess things didn't work out from like a visa standpoint or whatever. So
yeah, he tweeted about it.
So it sucked that didn't work out, but I was glad that we were able to get him involved, even as like just a guest speaker, and like he made the most of it in the 15 or so minutes that he was on. I mean, he crushed it. So yeah, I mean, I would imagine if we do another one that he would be, somebody that we would want to go to again. I thought he did a great job, and that's like from my perspective, like that's what Twitch Rivals was able to kind of bring to the table to help make this thing even bigger than it typically is. Because the MCC, they do their online stuff all the time, and it's fantastic. But for me as a fan, especially having been part of Twitch Rivals, the one thing that I miss is that sort of hub broadcast, right? I've watched their admin perspective, which is cool, but it's more like a director's cut. You're kind of getting like the feedback from them live as it's happening. You haven't really had that sort of esports feel to it, because there haven't been commentators. So I am curious, and I don't know, what the answer is to this, but I'm curious if now that they've kind of had that experience with us with doing the live stuff, if maybe they look to do that for their online events going forward. Maybe they look to bring commentators. I don't know. Maybe they keep doing what they've been doing. Totally fine. Their events are great anyway. But I thought that was really cool. It definitely added a different feel to it, and so for me, like I was kind of bouncing around between channels, but yeah, it was hard not to have the hub broadcast as like the main thing, because it was they did such a good job of like really bringing everybody in, and I also thought they did a really good job of like for anybody who wasn't familiar with MCC, because that's another big thing too, right? It's the Twitch Rivals channel. There are people that are followers and subscribers that are across a ton of different communities. So for some people, this may have been their first experience with seeing MCC, and they did a really good job of like kind of paring things down and explaining it in a way that was really simple. So hopefully we gained some new fans, and hopefully MCC did as well.
Definitely. Little intro things at the start of like the different games was such a new feature that was just excellent to have on, and just to get across how everything works and so on. But I was kind of interested, going back to planning the event and so on. I was interested because obviously in the past for Twitch Rivals, you've looked to have team captains in different events, and then for teams to be picked that way. Was that ever an idea for this event at all?
Not really. I mean, we talked with Scott about this pretty early on, and we know that the typical approach for MCC is to have the curated teams. I know he puts a lot of thought into past results and like really trying to get the averages right. So we didn't think it made a lot of sense to do the captains. The other thing too is when we do the captain's pick for our other events, the captain tends to be the team name is whatever the captain's name is. So it'd be like Team Hannah Rose, Team Feinberg, whatever. And that doesn't work for this, because obviously you've got all the different animals and colors represented. So we didn't think it made as much sense. So yeah, we kind of, again, that's what made this event so easy, is like we weren't building an event from scratch. We were building an event that was like already amazing, and it was just how do we plus it up? How do we make it a live experience that everybody will love and want to go to a future one? So yeah, a lot of the stuff, like we didn't really change the ingredients. Like they built this amazing cake, right? Like we don't need to change the ingredients. It's just like how do we add some stuff on top of it to make it even better?
The sprinkles, as you say.
Exactly.
It was essentially like, okay, your event's amazing. It's strictly online. So what if we put it in person and gave you a live crowd, put everyone on LAN, and had commentators? And it's like, that's all you had to do. Essentially, the event, like you said, the event was made for you. You just had to make it work in person. And you guys, and I know it wasn't just Twitch Rivals, obviously not Screw, big part of it, and just anyone else. I mean, I feel very bad. I can't remember the name of the brand that made the t-shirts, the esports t-shirts, but even that, like, just everybody who was involved in it just did such an, like, it couldn't have gone any better. And I'm very sounding very fanboy here, because I guess I am being a bit of a fanboy, but like, I mean, even the players, I'm sure, are acting the same way I am. So I that's why I don't want to say I'm fanboy, because they probably have the exact same reaction, and yourself and Not Screw, is that it just couldn't have gone any better. It was the perfect event. There was, I mean, obviously there's like a few little flaws every now and then, but that's everything has its flaws, right? Nothing's going to be perfect, but it was like brilliant, you know?
Yeah, we thought so as well. We got a lot of great feedback from creators during and after the event. So I think, if we were able to do another one, we can make it even better, which is kind of incredible to think about because that one was already amazing. But yeah, very excited, very happy with how things went down. And really just, as I mentioned before, like this felt scripted and it was anything but scripted. So the fact that it essentially went according to a script that we didn't even write is pretty amazing. And yeah, hopefully we get to do this again. If nothing else, like I think we've proven, and I say we, like Nox Crew and Twitch Rivals collectively have proven that there's like absolutely a hunger from the community for more MCC Live IRL type events. So even if it's not with us, I hope that MCC Live IRL continues to be a thing because like clearly that is something that the community wants, creators and viewers alike. So I definitely want to see more of that.
Do you have anything to add to this, AJX, or can I do the perfect transition?
You go for the perfect transition, good sir.
With you mentioning the hunger from the community for something else like this, whether it be with Twitch Rivals or just MCC on their own. Lately, and I know Corey Way is one specifically for this, and I feel like a lot of people are, I've become a very big advocate for Minecraft esports, all right? I mention it on most podcasts. I hope one day, who knows, maybe the podcast can become big enough to essentially become a bit of a better advocate for it. But you personally, and once again, you can talk from a you perspective or a Twitch Rivals perspective, what would you say the future for Minecraft esports is?
I mean, it's interesting to me because I came into Minecraft in like 2014, and at that point, I wasn't really up to speed with all the things that were already happening. And so for me, it really wasn't until like 2018 and beyond that I started to really follow a lot of the content creators and all the events that were happening. And so for me, it's like seeing the last, 5-6 years, it's felt like this constant push towards esports becoming more of a mainstream thing for Minecraft. And it's kind of wild because to me it seems like such a no-brainer. There's so like Minecraft is one of those games, and I know I'm kind of preaching the choir here, but it's one of those games that like you could literally do anything in, and it's been proven so many times. So to me it just makes no sense that we wouldn't have an esports scene. I think the difficulty is that with other established games, you have the developer that's heavily involved in sort of building and crafting, no pun intended, building out and crafting the esports scene, and sort of like pumping funding into it, which really kind of helps spearhead that and move it along faster. And so I think that's the one thing that doesn't currently exist, which makes sense. Mojang has always been sort of hands off on that. They kind of the support from like a hey, this is happening kind of approach, but they're not like directly involved in funding these things. So I think it's really going to just take a combination of creators who are eager to create content around the events, and adding that polish, whoever's kind of running the things behind the scenes, adding the polish that can really make it sort of transcend beyond the Minecraft space, and then getting some sponsors on board and really just like pushing this to become something that's sort of unifying for the Minecraft community. Because I've seen there's so many different events, and that's great to a certain degree, but it's also, I think, for people that are maybe newer to esports or don't really follow the Minecraft space as closely as us more, I guess, diehard fans do. Like that's always the thing with esports is like you want to try to make it, if you want to grow it big, you have to make it super simplified and like very encompassing so everybody can get in. The lower the barrier to entry, the better, which is why something like Rocket League blew up so fast because it's bars with the ball. It's soccer, right? It's so simple. And with Minecraft, like because you can do anything within it, it's a little overwhelming, I think, for some people. So I think that's one thing that MCC has done a really good job of is like they have a very unified look, they have a very unified feel. It's MCC as soon as like the music starts, as soon as you see the visuals, and so they've done a really good job of building that brand. And I think they're and this is not to say anything against any other groups that are doing events because they're all great, but I think MCC, in my opinion, are the closest to setting like an official sort of esports sort of circuit or whatever you will, because they've got a lot of different events. They've got tons of experience under their belt over the past 10 plus years that they've been building stuff for Minecraft. I believe they have a great relationship with Minecraft and Mojang team, because I know they're constantly releasing stuff on like the Bedrock marketplace. So like I think they have all the stuff necessary to take it to that level, and I think they're going to be the ones to do it. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping that we get to a place to where it's it feels like we've been in this sort of like Minecraft renaissance for the past past few years, and yeah, just excited as a fan to see where it goes.
Yes, definitely the same. I really love MCC, so it was amazing to see. Interestingly, this Twitch Rivals was the first time MCC has had a prize pool, and obviously it was a very, if you won, you got like 100 more than those who didn't. But did that add any interesting stuff to deal with for the Nox group? Were they all good with the prize pool and so on being added?
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely more of a Twitch Rivals thing. That's something that we just do for all of our events. So I think for that one, it was more just kind of finding a way to work with them to design it in such a way that it does not detract from what the overall objective of the event is. My understanding from them is that the event is very much, it's yes, it's competitive, and yes, there's a winner, but it's more about coming together and having a good time. And so prizing could change things a bit. And we've seen this with events that we've done. If we run a $100,000 event and the first prize is $20K, all of a sudden people play differently. And so prizing can complicate things quite a bit. So I think it was them that suggested making it as flat as possible in order to. It's a combination of things. It's make sure that everybody gets a little something, which is great, but also de-incentivize playing too sweaty, if it makes sense. And that's always tricky because you want people to play competitively and you want them to do their best, but you don't want them to go full sweaty try hard to where they're not even having a good time. There's a fine balance there, and it's really tricky to find that balance. So I think we did a good job collectively of giving enough of an edge for the winner, so it's oh yeah, they got a little bit more. They got the crowns, and that sort of thing. They got the end ceremony. But really and truly, at the end of the day, the most important thing was just that everybody had a good time. And I think we were able to do that.
Yeah, I definitely think that came across. I mean, in terms of training, I only saw really Ant go full for it, and he goes full for it every single event. So a lot of them were obviously having to travel to Las Vegas as well. But yes, I think it definitely worked out in terms of it didn't even feel like there was a prize pool, which came across, which was really nice. And yeah, it felt exactly like an MCC event.
I hope this isn't weird to say. It shouldn't be. It feels like it. I don't know. Not that that didn't feel like a Twitch Rivals without it, but I feel like it just wouldn't have been as Twitch rivalry if it didn't have a prize pool. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean the alternative is we could have had a charity prize pool. We've done this before for some events.
But just a prize pool in general. If it was just MCC Live, here we go. I don't know. I just feel like it wouldn't have been the same if it didn't have that Twitch money involved.
Yeah, I mean the way the Twitch money I guess sort of works is we always want our creators to feel like their time is well spent, and so we try to build our events in such a way that even if there was no prize pool involved, they would still want to take part in it because they're able to create amazing content and they're able to connect with their fans, they're able to connect with other creators, all of those things that we try to bring to the table. So the prize pool is meant to just be sort of that cherry on top where it's hey, on top of all this amazing stuff that's happening and this great opportunity, I'm also guaranteeing that my time is being well spent. And so it's in some events it makes more sense to make it a little bit more stacked towards the top and it's a bit more competitive, and so we kind of make the prizing built that way. But for this event, yeah, it made more sense to make it flat. It was more, the spirit of it was everybody coming together, having a good time. Some people meeting for the first time ever, which is really cool when those things can happen, and we can help facilitate that. So the prizing was more of an afterthought for this. And really it's, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't in their shoes, but if it was up to me, I would take that crown, that custom, unique crown that nobody else gets to have. I would take that over a couple thousand any day. That's.
I mean,
you can't put a prize tag on that. That's such an incredible. When they busted those things out, those were amazing.
Yeah,
it's just like MCC coins, right? What
yeah.
would you it's gonna sound weird to say, but what would I rather have? 10 grand or a coin that only one person has in the world. I know it sounds weird to say, but I mean, especially if I'm in their kind of position where they can travel to TwitchCon and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'd pay more than 10 grand for a coin.
I wouldn't take it out for. I wouldn't take it out for AJX. But
I would. I thought it was cool that after so long trying to win an MCC coin, Captain Sparkles wins a crown straight away. I thought that was a really cool thing that happened.
Yeah, I was reading something about him being the most winningest non-canon MCC player, because I guess this one was not your typical MCC event, so it's non-canon. So it's pretty cool that he's able, the normal events, he does well, but maybe doesn't win. But the sort of the non-canon events, the ones that are a little bit different that require require you to maybe play a little bit outside of what you're usually used to, he's able to dominate in those, which is really cool. And for us, it's interesting because like Sparkles has been a part of almost every one of our Minecraft events, like so many of our events he's been a part of, and he typically is a contender. Like he does really well in our events. So I don't know. There's some sort of synergy between us and him and MCC, and it was cool to see him, get a win on that stage. And I don't know. I mean, I've been a fan of his for a long time. He's been around. He's the OG, right? He's been around for so long. So to see that longevity with his career, and I mean, I was just watching. He's doing this RPG dark hardcore series. He's just always doing new and interesting stuff. And so again, as just a fan, it's cool to see all these different types of creators coming together and able to have a good experience. And yeah, I don't know. Like I think the future is bright for MCC. We never even really got to talk about this much, but like the stuff they're doing with MCC Island, I think is really so cool that they're able to take what was great about MCC and bring it to the public.
Yeah.
And allow everybody else to kind of get that experience and to get involved. And I don't know what their plans are, but I would imagine that there's going to be, I don't know, in my head it makes sense that MCC Island would have sort of a system that can ladder up to MCC, so you could have people playing an MCC Island maybe to win a chance to be a part of MCC or something. I don't know what their plans are for that, but to me it just makes sense that there's a way to kind of connect those. But even if not, like just the fact that because MCC is so iconic and it's always been something that you just kind of you watch but you're not necessarily participating in, having that as something that the public can be a part of is just so cool. So I'm again, a little bit of a fanboy. I've known about Monster Crew for a long time, but it's just awesome to see what they've been able to do. And I mean, they're trendsetters. They're building something that's really unique and cool in the Minecraft space, and I have a lot of respect for them.
I mean, I don't know about the whole like building up thing. I think it's a cool concept, like on paper. I just don't. I don't know. I guess I sound like a bit of a hater here, but I just don't think it works.
It kind of works because they have MCC Island, and then you can get into Rising, and then you can get into the actual MCC.
I guess, yeah, but like I don't know, like working. I don't know. It just causes. I don't know. I don't have reasoning behind it, and even if I did, it's not something I'd want to give. I just started. I don't know. Just me personally, I'm not disagreeing with you. I mean, obviously, if that's your like kind of full process, that's completely fine. But I'm just kind of giving mine. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the sort of thing that like it probably wouldn't be like an official ladder system, but more like I guess what I'm trying to say is I think MCC Island can be a place for people to create content and sort of make a name for themselves.
Oh yeah, of course.
And then they kind of create their own opportunity to then potentially get involved in something like MCC Rising, and then potentially get involved with something like MCC Officials. So I mean, I look at someone like Fire Breath Man, like he has been in a ton of our events, and he's always just like, all right, we got to nerf this dude. He's too good. So especially like his first event in MCC, like just did phenomenally. So I think folks like that, it's really cool that they have a place to play. Like when MCC Island didn't exist and they weren't a part of like MCC Rising or MCC, it was like they didn't have a way to be involved in MCC, right? It was very kind of limited, which there's a certain prestige to that, but like making MCC Island and having the public space, it allows everybody to be a part of it. So again, for me, somebody that like kind of, I say grew up, I'm pushing 40, so I grew up a long time ago, but someone who grew up watching, Hypixel and the rise of Hypixel, it's cool seeing what MCC is doing in this time and like how they're kind of doing their own thing. And who knows, maybe it'll be as big as Hypixel, maybe bigger, maybe not, I don't know, but what they're doing right now is very cool. And I think creators are very appreciative of the opportunities that they're bringing, so that's awesome.
Honestly, I think I just took it out of context as like when you said the whole ladder thing, I thought you meant like, yeah, there's going to be like a tournament of whoever gets the highest on the leaderboard gets into MCC. Like I guess I just took it the wrong way. I mean, when MCC first came out on my main channel, or InsaneOrbitzz, which I mean I said I've stopped uploading on now, I said like that was essentially being used as a place to get into the MCC Island community, and I think it's paid off quite well. I mean, like I started off making MCC Island YouTube videos, and then I started streaming it, and then I got into the MCC Island community, and then I decided to bring the podcast back. And the podcast was originally when I was a Bedrock content creator. Then I brought it back when I moved over to MCC Island Java, and now look, we're sitting on the podcast right now, having a chat, and then it's just a case of would you be here if I was still the OG podcast? And I just don't think I would, because I mean I've improved so much with promotion. Midweek MC became a thing because I met AJX, and AJX was willing to do it with me. And then the way I like invited you on the podcast, the way I promote the podcast, the way like how professional it looks is all because I've grown myself with, okay, I'm starting to get in quotation marks, bigger names on, and I'd class you as like someone who is like, holy crap, how have we done this? You know, because you know, community program manager for Twitch Rivals is not every day you can go like, yeah, no, I've sat down with them, I've had a conversation with them. You just can't, you know. Not everybody gets that opportunity. So it's like it's just a case of MCC Island has also made the podcast, I think, where it is right now. And I guess to kind of add to your point there and prove it is that I've stemmed into getting in contact, I guess, or like being able to talk to larger creators because I made a bit of MCC Island content, you know? It's all like a chain. It's all dominoes. And I kind of waffled a little bit there, but I was
gonna add to that the you know, we've had like Mr. Cat, who originally started making MCC content, now being in the event. Owen was obviously part of all things MCC now in the event. Yeah, so yeah, definitely, there's definitely a ladder there, and I can't wait to see more people climb up it. You know,
I just originally took it out of context, as in like when I first heard it, I just in my head I was like, oh, they mean just like make a tournament bracket on MCC Island and the top 3 get into the event, you know. But then when you explained about creators thing, it made a bit more sense to me. So I apologize for taking that like out of like the wrong way.
No, that's all good. Yeah, I think one of the great things about MCC is like they've always done a really good job of identifying sort of the right folks for these events. So that's you know, it's not to say anything against anybody else, but it's like this is a creator event, right? It's not just who's the best who can do things the fastest. It's you've got to have a presence, and you've got to be able to create content in a way that's engaging and that you have a community that you're building. And so that there's a certain level of prestige with these events, and I think MCC Island does a great job of giving the folks that are maybe, you know, on the precipice of getting to that point but aren't quite there yet, it gives them a place to it gives them something to do, right? And it gives them a way to build their own content and kind of create their own fan base and start kind of cutting their teeth a little bit in creating content around that. So in a way, it's almost like a training ground, I think, both literally from like playing the games and sort of getting a sense of how those things operate, but then also like you have to be able to handle yourself in a certain way. There's a certain professionalism. You've got to be able to get along with folks. You've got to be able to create connections, and you got to create, you know, a fan base. And so I think there's a lot of cool stuff that's happening, and maybe this was their intention all along. Maybe it was just, you know, something that's kind of like a happy byproduct of it. But either way, they're doing a great job, and I have a ton of respect for what they do.
Like, I hate to say it, but I think it's just those who look into it, it's common knowledge. It's like MCC, for the right reasons, have to be picky. For instance, like AJX, right? I bought AJX on the first midweek MC, and we did an interview thing. But I'm not going to bring AJX on every single week because, like, I mean, obviously midweek MC, but I mean to interview AJX, right? I'm not just going to bring someone random on. And there's a reason for it, is because, you know, as an event, as MCC as an event, or as InsideMC as a podcast, you know, you want to grow, you know, as much as you still want to get people on. You feel like I very much said it, and I said it when I invited you on, was the podcast is very much people I'm interested in, and it's proven by the guests I've had on and the guests I'm gonna have on. There's purely just people I find interesting and like talking to. But I'm not just gonna like put out a tweet going, yo, who wants to come on the podcast, and just invite anyone on, because I have to be picky if I want the podcast to grow. Same way MCC, if they want it to be like you said, it's such a prestigious event, they have to be, or they don't have to be, but they are like very like picky on who invite, like who is right for the event, you know. They're not just gonna put out a tweet like MCC Rising, for example. That's essentially putting out a tweet going, yeah, who wants to come on, who wants to play an MCC. But then they had to be really picky with who had the best application videos, who put in the effort, who was right for the event, all that kind of jazz, you know. And I feel like that's probably what Twitch Rivals does as well, right?
A little bit. I would say that we're not, I don't know, it depends, because we've got a lot of different events that happen, and so some of our events are a bit more open, where anybody can be a part of it. But then we have other events that are a bit more curated. So yes and no. I would say most of our events are probably that way, and it's always a tough thing to sort of talk about, but I'll try to do my best here. It really comes down, and I'm speaking from Twitch Rivals at this point, not Nox Crew, but it always comes down to trying to find a way to sort of balance out the goals that we have for the event, which are typically like, you know, we want to make sure that, you know, any event that we do, we want to make sure it's going to make a splash, right? And so we want to make sure that it's going to have enough visibility to make it make sense, both from like a financial standpoint, because, you know, obviously we're putting, you know, a lot of resources into making these events happen, between the broadcast and the production and hiring talent and all the things that we're doing. Plus we have staff that are managing these things. So it has to make sense from like a financial standpoint, but it also needs to serve, and this is the most important thing, it needs to serve the community. So, you know, we could just phone it in and just do an event for the sake of doing an event, but what does that actually do, right? What we want to do is we want to make something that's going to make a splash. So when you see it, it's like, oh, that's a Twitch Rivals event. I know that's going to be a big deal. I want to tune in. And as a creator, it's like, I want to be a part of that because it's going to bring me opportunities for discovery, and it's going to bring me opportunities to connect with other creators who maybe I've never played with before, or they're my friends and I want to get to hang with them. And, all these things, we try to put all of that together. And so when we're inviting creators, we're thinking of all these things. We're trying to think of, who's kind of hot in the space right now, who's making a name for themselves, who have we not had in a while, who is the winner of the last event. Like, we're trying to think of all these different storylines, so that way it's always this interesting sort of melting pot of a ton of different creators coming together. And ultimately, as long as they have the right vibes and they're bought into the event, they're going to have a good time. And so I think that Nox Crew probably does something pretty similar with how them and S Major kind of build their events. I can't say for sure that it's kind of like their secret sauce, but as a fan and a fellow tournament organizer or event organizer, I'm sure there's something of that nature that goes into it. Because again, you really want to make sure that your events stand out and that that you're getting the right folks in. And again, that's not to say that other people aren't right for the event. It's just it's all about timing. So finding the right folks for the right time, and as folks sort of like develop and build brands for themselves, they'll create those opportunities naturally. And again, kind of going back to the MCC Island thing, like, that's a great place for people to sort of build their own content, their own network. And yeah, I mean, I hope to see more of that in the future with what MCC does, and with what Nox Crew does, and all the stuff they're doing with MCC. And who knows? I mean, maybe there's more stuff in the pipeline. I have no idea. They didn't tell us, but it just seems like they're always coming up with something new, and they're always very, very forward thinking about the creator economy in this space as a whole. So definitely a lot of admiration and respect for what they do.
You're so much better at wording stuff than I am. I kind of just see, the thing is, I just waffle, right? I get my point across by waffle, and it takes me time. But like, you're so much more professional with your wording. I need to get better at that a little bit, because I mean, you kind of just said what I was meant to say, but in a less like, wow, he sounds like a bit of a arsehole kind of way,
No. I have many years of experience. Like I said, I'm pushing 40, so I've been doing this for a while. I've been in the esports and community and creator community space for almost 10 years now. So trust me, when I first started, I'm dating myself at this point. The first event that I ever ran, Rocket League event, I did it entirely out of my email. I didn't use a platform. I didn't even know what like Challenge or Smash GG was back then. It was just all out of my email. So yeah, I learned a lot over the years. So don't be too hard on yourself. It takes time, and doing more of these kind of things, just as you do it, you get that experience. So you're doing great. Don't worry about it.
I appreciate that. Thank you. That means a lot. I feel like I had more to I had another question, but I can't remember. I mean, yeah, I think we've kind of just covered everything. Ultimately, how, I guess, just like a final rundown of how the event went and everything like that. How proud of you are. Like, how, I guess, just a chance here for you to kind of give a big props to yourself, and give a big props to the team, and not screen everyone else, everyone involved. Like, just, I guess, just this section to big yourself.
It was
up
amazing.
A little bit.
So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, do you have anything else to say to like kind of big yourself up a little bit? The floor is yours because you deserve it, and so does everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, this was a full team effort between the Twitch Rivals team and Nox Crew and S Major, as well as all the different folks that we worked with to bring this event to a live space. So, collectively across the team, everybody just knocked it out of the park. I mean, I can't take the credit, because, a lot of this stuff really was about just taking what was already a fantastic product and adding the sprinkles and whipped cream and cherry and all the stuff on top to make it that much better and just work in a live setting. And so, I'm very appreciative of, honestly, just as a fan, I'm appreciative of the fact that I was able to work on something like this. And I don't think it could have gone much better. I think it went as good as it could have. And I'm hopeful that we can work together in the future. Maybe bring an EU event next year. I don't know. We'll see.
Ooh.
So excited. We had some Twitter questions for you as well. We got one from Emily, who asked, what was the coolest part of setting this all up, or what was the most fun part to do?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, the easy answer is just like everything, because just getting, again, as a fanboy of MCC and Nox Crew, just getting a chance to work with them was amazing. Like, being able to hop into a meeting, it's like, oh, I've got a meeting at 10 o'clock with the MCC team. That's amazing, right? So I geeked out a little bit about that. But honestly, like, seeing it all come to life. The first time, because I didn't get a chance to go and see it live, but obviously we had like screenshots behind the scenes of like, hey, we're setting things up, and just watching it sort of turn from this convention space where it's a dark hall and all what a typical convention space looks like to the bright, colorful look that MCC, the iconic look that MCC has. Watching that come to life was really cool, especially with like all the I don't know how they were designed, but like all the different designs that were across the stage that really sort of helped to solidify that brand. And then of course seeing all the creators, like the walkouts for me, that was such a cool thing because you don't usually see that with MCC. It's just like that they do a little bit of that with they pan to the different teams and they do like their dances or whatever, and that's cool, but like having the actual walkout while the crowd's there and everybody's cheering, people get excited, and there's just so much personality that was a part of it. So that for me was really exciting.
Yes, definitely.
Dude, I guess just something I forgot to mention earlier, and now you kind of just put up there. Like, I know you weren't there, and I'm sorry that you got to miss out, but hopefully you'll be there next time. It's like all the group photos and stuff was so cool. Like, they had like that big one that everybody has seen. It has like Lagundo's in it, and like President Pound Cake is in it, and it's like they weren't even like they were in the crowd, but they still somehow got into the picture. So I just thought it was really cool how like connected this community is because of it. The commentators were speedrunners, and then I know Kara's in a speedrunner, but like Kara was there, and then like in the event itself, you mentioned different like SMP and all that kind of stuff. It's just that as a whole, everything just worked. It was all cool, it was just a cool event. Everything was great, at least in my eyes,
Yeah, I definitely agree. And it was like I don't know how much this was publicized, but we actually had a meet and greet after, like directly after the MCC event. Yeah, so we had that event right after, and it lasted for like, I don't know, 3 hours or so, and there were just hundreds of people there to meet and get signatures from all the different folks. So that was really cool. Like that's the first time I think we've ever done that. So I think something people don't necessarily realize is, while Twitch Rivals is obviously part of Twitch, like we're our own team, so to speak. So like there are other meet and greets, but that's like a TwitchCon team thing. I don't know. It's a lot of red tape and politics and whatever, but like there's different teams that do different things. So for us, that was the first time that we as Twitch Rivals did a meet and greet, and so it was really cool being able to like bring that to the MCC community, and it made a ton of sense to do it right after that event. And so it was awesome to see just the interactions between like all the fans and the creators. Again, I was unfortunately unable to go, but my colleague was able to get a card signed for me, and I tweeted that out. Honestly, that made my month. Like that was so cool because I've been watching like Hermitcraft. I've been watching Hermitcraft since like 2017, 2018. So Scar, Gem, Impulse, etc. Like I've been watching these folks for a very long time. So if I had been there, it would have been very hard for me to keep my professional composure. I would have been geeking out a little bit. So it was cool being at home and seeing that, hey, I get to have one of those and I'm going to put it up on my wall. So yeah, it was fun.
And if you never tweeted about that card, then I probably would have never got in contact with you, because like I said, like how I mentioned before the podcast was, I saw like CPK respond to a tweet of yours, and it was that tweet, the card, and I thought, screw it, I'll try my luck. And now look, I think this has been a pretty good podcast. I've enjoyed it. I hope you have as well. I hope you have, AJX. It's been quite fun.
I've loved it.
Yeah, this has been great.
There is one more Twitter question, and it comes from Thunderblaze999, and they ask, how and why was the decision to have 6 MCC games instead of the usual 8?
Yes, I saw this mentioned a few times on Reddit and Discord as well. So this one's pretty simple. It really comes down to timing. With it being a live event, we have a limited amount of time that we can run these events because we are part of a convention and there are rules, so we have to like shut things down at a certain point, et cetera, et cetera. So knowing that, in talking with Nox Crew MCC team, we wanted to make sure there was enough time to do everything. We knew that there were going to be walkouts. We knew that there were going to be breaks because we've got to do ad reads and things for our sponsors. We knew that there were going to be interviews. And so with all of that, and then also like a post-event ceremony. So with all that stuff in mind, we wanted to make sure that there was enough time to sort of like let the event breathe and not feel like we're just rushing through everything. So could we have probably gotten away with maybe more games? Yeah, maybe. Something that maybe we could change for the future. But going into this first one, we wanted to play it safe. And so I think it was the Nox Crew folks that mentioned truncating it down to 6 to make sure that there was enough time for everything. And I think it was the right call. You could never be you can never be too safe with these things. We've had events where we've gone over. If you look at the Apex event, we unfortunately had some issues in the first like hour over, and it ended up taking a bit longer than we expected. So those things can happen, and you have to plan for that ahead of time because you never know if it's going to happen. And so it's better to err on the safe side.
And I think, yeah, I personally think it was the right call as well, just because the event was like, what, 2.5 hours? That's the length of a normal MCC event, when you watch from home, and that has 8 games. So just imagine, like, it would have been, and even then, even if it's not a case of it going over, I feel like it just would have been too drained out anyways. Like, 3 hours is the perfect amount. If it had 8 games, it would have been longer, and then if it had 8 games, there wouldn't have also been the 10-point difference, and it wouldn't, like, this is, like, obviously every single MCC is amazing, but this is definitely one of the ones that stand out, as in, like, not only because it being live, but just because of what's happened in this event, you know? The 10-point difference, CPK coming 4th in Div, Antfrost Antfrost placing top, like, all of that combined, you know?
Yeah, it was definitely one for the ages.
I think.
Definitely.
Are you gonna AJX?
I was saying definitely. It's always going to be in my head.
I think that I think we've pretty much covered everything then regarding MCC Live. I'm very glad. I'm very glad we brought you on, because, you know, as much as we would have been able to talk about this became very much us asking you questions about it rather than us kind of speculating, which is always makes for a better podcast, you know? That's why I like to bring the person on who's involved with it rather than kind of speculating ourselves. But before I do the outro here, Cloud, would you like to, you know, kind of promote yourself? You can promote anything regarding yourself, you know, you, Twitch Rivals, whatever. Where can we find you? Where can we find anything you're involved in? The floor is completely yours.
Sure, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'll just say that you know, I'm very, very happy with how the event went, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to chat with me and giving me the opportunity to kind of talk about how the event went from our perspective, and giving a little bit of a peek behind the curtain. As far as me, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Discord, it's just CloudFuel, and then Twitch Rivals, you know, we're obviously on Twitch, and we've got a Twitter as well. So, you know, if you're into creator-led events, you know, Twitch Rivals I think is definitely something worth checking out. We have a lot of events coming up this month and next month, as well as December. I don't know if we have any. I don't think we have any Minecraft events in the next 2 months, but we do have Minecraft events planned for next year. So definitely stay tuned for those.
There we go. I love watching Minecraft Twitch Rivals. I only recently got into it, like, last year, Twitch Rivals itself, like Minecraft. But then I think I've, like, mainly because of the podcast as well, essentially, as I've become a lot more involved in it, you know. I've had to become a lot more, not had to, but want to become a lot more involved in Minecraft as a whole, just for the sake of making a good podcast. And I think it's working. So we'll see. You know, we'll see where the podcast is when the next Minecraft Twitch Rivals happens, you know, because it'd obviously make a good topic to talk about on the podcast, but just, you get what I mean?
Yeah, we'll have to follow up and see how things have progressed from now to then.
For the both of us, right?
For sure.
With that being said, then, thank you, AJX, for showing up this week. This was your podcast. It was perfect.
I had to. I love MCC.
And thank you. Exactly. And thank you so much again, Cloud, for taking time out of your day to show up, because I know it's quite early in the day for you as well. So we've kind of taken your afternoon away. But thank you so much for, you know, coming and speaking to us about the ins and outs of MCC Twitch Rivals Live.
Certainly. It's been an honor. Thank you.
This has been Midweek MC, talking about MCC Live that happened, I guess, over the weekend or on Friday for us, but it would have been like 2 weeks ago, give or take, for you, the viewer. Either way, talking about MCC Live, Twitch Rivals, that kind of collab. Thank you all for watching. Stay safe. Don't eat too much bread. Pieces.